Shabbat Shalom and welcome back to the Virtual House Church. It's the time of the week that we have been waiting for. I know that you are waiting for this time. I'm waiting for this time as well, that we have the opportunity to have this fellowship, this virtual fellowship, with intention, to praise Elohim, to study His Word, and to go back to the basic. That's the whole purpose of Virtual House Church. So, as I always inviting you, I would like to invite you once again to go and visit the Virtual House Church website, as we can see on the screen, and to remind all of us that the Virtual House Church is a project, was an initiative that started by our beloved brother Rob Skiba and his wife Sheila Skiba back on 2012. Where their whole intention was to give the chance to many people that were going into the process to be awakened by YaHuWaH to His truth, to start, gathering together as we are doing it today, in order to study the Word of YaHuWaH, to study the Torah cycle, to go back to the basics and to start building once again the foundations of our belief, the foundation of the truth of YaHuWaH. And Rob was doing this since 2012, and in this site we find so much information, being collected throughout the years in the different cycles of Torah, from Genesis, Bereshit, until Devarim, Deuteronomy. We find here the multiple information that the whole purpose that YaHuWaH was doing through Rob in Virtual House Church was to serve this to the kingdom purposes, to serve to the people of YaHuWaH as an input, necessary input to study His Word. And what we have been doing in this new cycle, as you know, we have continuing the Virtual House Church in these new cycles. We have been studying the words in the book of Judges, Joshua, and now we are in the book of 1 Samuel. And Jay has been helping us to update the new phase of Virtual House Church that you can see here in the screen. And if you go to this week's study, you will find here all the information and all the videos that we have been doing in these new cycles, in the studies of the book of Joshua, the book of Judges, and the one that we are doing now in the book of 1 Samuel. So, as I have been inviting you week after week, I will invite you once again to go and check Virtual House Church, but also that we need to share this information with many others. The time that we are living is so critical and challenging, and is so wonderfully amazing in some way, because we see the word of YaHuWaH being fulfilled, that your responsibility, my responsibility, the responsibility of all of us is to bring the light of YaHuWaH to others. We need to shine, and we need to let that light shine in us in order to bring the light of YaHuWaH in this world full of darkness. So if you hear my voice a little bit different, it's just because I got a very strong flu this week. I was in bed for a few days, but I'm still congested and but in recovery mode. YaHuWaH has been helping me during this week. After finishing my fasting, I was doing some work here in this place, and the weather was so cold, and in one day we got completely wet because of something that we needed to fix. But I'm in recovery mode, and YaHuWaH is the one taking care of me. And as I usually do, I want to share some passages with you before we go to the portion today. In these videos that we are sharing with all of you in this channel, Light to the Nations, with the reading of the book of Tehillah, it's been a real blessing. The book of Psalms, Tehillim in Hebrew. It's been a real blessing, and particularly one that I like it the most is the chapter 20. this is something that is so beautiful and is so important that we need to keep in our mind. And somehow, most probably, we are gonna talk about this in the portion today. The time that we are living is so difficult, difficult time to time. We are facing challenges every day. Some days we are up, other days we are down. Some days we are a smile in our faces. Some days we are not that smiling that much, and maybe we have sadness, and we are going through sadness. But there is something that we need to remember all the time, and we have been studying this in the last few weeks in the portions that we have had the blessing to be studying together. Is that we need to put our trust in Yahuwah at all time. And sometimes it's difficult, as I have been telling you as well, this phrase is that's much easier to say than to do. But I think when we do, when we do the action, we complete our faith. So, especially on the times that are more difficult, when we are going through bigger challenges, is when we need to trust in Yahuwah the most. Is when it's more difficult to trust in Yahuwah. Why? Because we are going through emotions, and we are going through difficulties, and as we have been talking about this as well here in Virtual House Church, is that the battle is here in our mind, it's within us. Is the battle between the evil thoughts and the thoughts of good that are coming from the kingdom of Yahuwah, directly from His Ruach. And that's why we need to take courage during those times when it's more difficult to trust in Yahuwah and to get rid of those thoughts. Is to trust in Him, is to close our eyes and to think that He is with us, that He is the one protecting us, that He is the one holding our hand, and He is the one guiding our steps. And that's why I like this portion of Tehillim that I'm going to share with you in the screen now, because it reminds us exactly that we need to trust in Yahuwah. But before sharing this with you, a few weeks ago, I have been telling you this in the past, that I usually take my scripture during the morning before I'm going to pray and just open it. And in the page that I opened, I read. And I remembered a few weeks ago, I found a passage that for me was so fascinating, because somehow it's related to what's has been happening in the world in the last 2 years. And I read this passage, but I didn't took the note where I was reading it. And a few days ago, I remembered the passage, and I tried to find it out, and I couldn't find it. But last night, Abba was helping me, and I found it. So let me share with you, and you are gonna understand. I'm gonna connect the dots. Just bear with me a minute, and how this is connected to Tehillim and the time that we are living. So let's go for a minute. And I like sorry for this, but I like this way to start the Virtual House Church. Just to share some thoughts with all of you before going to the portion. Most probably it's going to take more time for Virtual House Church, but, if that's the way to do it, so it be. So let's go to the book of Divrei Hayamim. This is the Divrei Hayamim Bet. This is 2 Chronicles, chapter 16. And, here in this passage, we found about a king of Israel and a king of Yehuda. The king of Yehuda is called Asa, and the king of Israel is called Baasha. Okay, you can read this all in context later on after Virtual House Church, just to understand and to grasp everything about it. Okay, and I'm gonna just read the first one and the second one just for you to have a little bit of more context. In the 36 years of the reign of Asa, Baasha, the sovereign of Israel, came up against Yehuda and built Ramah to prevent anyone going out or coming in to Asa, sovereign of Yehuda. So there was fighting between the two houses, okay? The house of the north fighting against the house of the south, or the kingdom of the south. And it said the verse 2, and Asa brought silver and gold from the treasuries of the house of YaHuWaH and of the sovereign's house, and sent to Ben-Hadad, sovereign of Aram, who dwelt in Damascus, saying, and I'm going to keep it only until there. So what's happening is that Asa, the king of Yehuda, from the kingdom of the south, the house of Yehuda, in order to be stronger against the fight against their brothers, the kingdom of the north, he relied on Ben-Hadad, the sovereign of Aram, in order to ask him for help. And that's the context, just for you to understand. And let me go down to the verse 7, because that's the part that I want to highlight from verse 7 to the other. And it says in the verse 7 the following: and at that time Hanani, the seer, a prophet, came to Asa, sovereign of Yehuda, and said to him, because you have relied on the sovereign of Aram, and have not relied on YaHuWaH your Elohim, therefore the army of the sovereign of Aram has escaped from your hand. Were the Cushites and the Luvim not a mighty army, with very many chariots and horsemen? And because you relied on YaHuWaH, he gave them into your hand. For the eyes of YaHuWaH diligently search throughout all the earth, to show himself to be strong on behalf of those whose heart is perfect to him. You have acted foolishly in this, so from now on you shall have battles. So what the seer is telling here to the king Asa is that he is reminding him, he is making him to remember that in the time past, when he relied and he put his trust in YaHuWaH, he was able to defeat big and strong armies. Why this time he decided to trust in men and not to trust in YaHuWaH? That's what YaHuWaH is reminding him. And most probably you are connecting the dots now about what we need to do every time that we are going through difficult situations, is that we should not rely on men. We should trust in YaHuWaH. And even because of the only fact that he decided to trust in men, there were consequences that they were not going to be able to conquer and to defeat the kingdom of Aram. That was the consequence. But let's not. It's not until there, because the most impressive part, the part that I read a few weeks ago, is just coming a few verses below. So let me continue. And it's an emotional reaction that all of us, most probably, we have done it and done it in the past. It says in the verse 10, and Asa was wroth with the seer, with the prophet, and put him in prison, for he was enraged at him because of this. And Asa oppressed some of the people at the time. Truth is always being persecuted. True believer and servants of YaHuWaH have been always being persecuted. So don't be surprised if you are going through persecution. Don't be surprised if we are going through rejection. Don't be surprised if we, as the people of YaHuWaH, are being mocked, are being persecuted because of the truth of his word. Because that happened in the past, and Yahushua said that this will happen in the future as well. So that's why we need to make ourselves stronger in the word. That's why we need to make ourselves stronger in the truth of YaHuWaH in order to face any storm, in order to stay firm in the rock, fulfilling our purpose and our duty in the kingdom. You know, I think we are going through different set of trials in these times, maybe in different aspects in your own lives. But YaHuWaH is testing, as I was writing in an email today, is testing our heart, and we are going to talk about our heart, about the heart today. He's testing what is in our heart to really understand if our heart is for Him or is for this world. So we need to stay firm, because we see, as we're reading here in verse 10, persecution is always there. The world, darkness against light. The world against the kingdom of YaHuWaH. And when I'm talking about the world, I'm talking about the system of the beast that is being implemented already in the world. So let's continue reading. And it says, the verse 11, and look, the acts of Asa, the first and the last, see, they are written in the book of the sovereigns of Yehuda and Israel. And this was the verse, the verse 12. And this was the one that I was trying to remember, because this was the one that I read. And it says the following, and in the 39th year of his reign, Asa became diseased in his feet, and his disease was severe. And listen to this. Yet, even in his disease, he did not seek YaHuWaH, but the physicians. Let me read it again, and keep in mind what has been going on in the world in these last 2 years. Yet, even in his disease, he did not seek YaHuWaH, but the physicians. This is exactly what we have been going through all these years. People being afraid. People relying and trusting in men instead of seeking YaHuWaH. Instead of seeking YaHuWaH in order to recover vitality, in order to recover health, in order to recover ourselves. The only fact that we are trusting in men first before trusting in YaHuWaH is because we are afraid, and because we don't trust in Him really, because we forget Him, because we decide to go to men first. I'm not trying to say that we should not go to physicians. No, not necessarily. What I'm trying to say is exactly what is written here in this passage, is that first we need to go to YaHuWaH, that we need to trust in Him, and He is the one that He's going to guide our steps on what we have to do. We have been having this amazing blessing in this portion that we have been studying in this last at least 2 and 3 weeks, that YaHuWaH has given us through His Word practical ways on how to understand His will for our lives. Remember what we were studying about Jonathan last week, I think it was. And the multiple other systems, practical system, in order to understand what's the will of YaHuWaH for our lives. So if we are going through disease, as in this case, the first thing that we have to go and to do is to use our knees, to close our eyes, to go to YaHuWaH, to acknowledge that He is our Creator, and He is the one having the power in order to restore our health, to trust in Him and not to trust in men. And that's why, why I like so much what is written in the book of Psalms, in Tehillim, chapter 20, that I want to read it again with you. I don't know if I read this one or wasn't my wife, but it doesn't matter. I'm going to read it again because it's so, so beautiful. And it says the following: YaHuWaH does answer you in the day of distress. The name of the Elohim of Jacob does set you on high. He does send you help from the set-apart place and does uphold you from Zion. He does remember all your offerings and does accept your ascending offerings, Selah. He does give you according to your heart and fills all your plans. we sing of your deliverance, and in the name of our Elohim, we set up a banner. YaHuWaH does fill all your requests. Now, I know that YaHuWaH shall save his anointed. He answers him from his set-apart heavens with the saving might of his right hand. Some trust in chariots. And keep this in your heart and in your mind, with everything that I have been sharing with you so far. Some trust in chariots, some in horses, some trust in men, some trust in medicine, some trust in the governments, some trust in any other person. But we remember the name of YaHuWaH, our Elohim. They have bowed down and fallen, but we have risen and are established. Save YaHuWaH. Let the sovereign answer us in the day we call. That's the way that YaHuWaH is expecting our heart to feel, that we trust in him at all time, that we put our trust in him first, and that he is going to be the one guiding us in every aspect of our lives. So I hope you know this message is bringing some blessing to you, and I have to share this one as well. So let me go to the book of Job. Job was reading this in this morning. I don't completely understand it yet, but the focus, I understand what he's trying to share with us is direct. And this is in the book of Job, chapter 8. We are going to read from verse 7 to verse 13. It says, though your beginning was small, yet your latter end would greatly increase. Indeed, please ask the former generation and prepare for the research of their fathers. For we are but of yesterday, and know not, because our days on earth are as a shadow. Do they not teach you, speak to you, and bring forth words from their heart? Does papyrus grow without a march, a reed thrive without water? While it is yet green, not cut down, it dries out before any plant. So are the paths of all who forget El, from Elohim, and the expectancy of a defiled one does perish, whose refuge is cut off, and whose trust is a spider's web. You know, this is exactly, I was reading this morning, and it's so connected to what I was sharing with you a minute ago. We cannot be this kind of plant that even is not cut down and it's withered. Even that is, is with full of water, but it wither anyways. That kind of plants is being compared to those ones that are forgetting Elohim. And forgetting Elohim is not being obedient. Forgetting Elohim is not trusting in him. We need to be like those trees by the river that are not going to wither anywhere. Never. They are going to continue being green because they are being filled with the river that is coming from the throne of Elohim with that living waters. So, just to close my thought that this is I was feeling to share with you at this very beginning, is that we need to trust YaHuWaH, brothers and sisters. No matter the difficulties we're going through, we have the time now to prepare ourselves for what's coming. And to prepare ourselves, what it means is to prepare our mind, our heart, and especially our spirit. We need to be filled with the Ruach of Elohim in order to be able to face anything that is coming on our ways. Because no matter that the mountain is going to be too high, what it matters is that we are going to trust in YaHuWaH always. So, I don't want to continue with these thoughts. If not, we're going to use the entire time of Virtual House Church. But I think you got the point. you got the point of what we need to do in these times. So, before continue with the portion, as we always do, just want to share a song with you all, and I hope you're gonna like it. And then we're gonna continue, and we're gonna begin actually with the portion of today. So here we go.
אדוני, בית אדוני נלך, עומדות היו רגלינו בשערייך, ירושלים, עיר שחוברה לה יחדיו. שלום שלום ירושלים, ישליו אוהבייך, יהי שלום בחילך, שלווה בארמונותייך. למען אחי ורעי אדברה, שלום בך. שיר המעלות לדוד, עדות היא לישראל, להודות לשם אדוני. עומדות היו רגלינו בשערייך, ירושלים, אבקשה טוב לה. שלום שלום ירושלים, ישליו אוהבייך, יהי שלום לחילך, שלווה בארמונותייך. למען אחי ורעי אדברה, שלום בך. שלום שלום ירושלים, ישליו אוהבייך, יהי שלום בחילך, שלווה בארמונותייך. שלום למען אחי ורעי אדברה, שלום בך. יהי שלום בחילך, שלווה שלום שלום ירושלים, ישליו אוהבייך, יהי שלום בחילך, שלווה בארמונותייך. שלום למען אחי ורעי אדברה, שלום.
That's a very beautiful song, and also it's a very beautiful hope. It's about the peace over Jerusalem, the city that YaHuWaH has decided to put his name on. And as soon as we find and we get that peace over Jerusalem, It's not only going to be a peace over Jerusalem, that is a city. The peace is going to be among the people dwelling in Jerusalem. And at that point, at that moment, when that happened, is because real peace, not the peace and safety that the world is proclaiming all over the time. The real peace, the real shalom, that time, the real peace and real shalom is going to be around the entire world, because the kingdom of YaHuWaH will be here, established on earth by the hand of Yahushua HaMashiach. So I will invite you to close your eyes, to lift your hands to the heaven, and let's pray together to YaHuWaH before we start with this study. YaHuWaH Sebaot, YaHuWaH Eloheinu, we want to give thanks to you once again because of your loving commitment, your chesed, because of your love for us and your compassion. Toda Abba, because you give us the opportunity to be here in this fellowship, because you give us the opportunity to have this time during Shabbat, your Shabbat, the sign that you have established for your people, a sign that makes us different from the world, a sign that makes us your people, Israel, and to separate this time in order to gather together, to study your word, to spend time between brothers and sisters, your people, part of your remnant. We want to give thanks to you, Abba, because we know your presence is with us, because we can feel that joy and that shalom in our heart. Toda Abba, because you are the one making us whole. You are the one fulfilling our purposes. You are the one guiding our steps. And I want to give thanks to you, especially in this time, Abba, that we are going to study this portion in your word. That in the same way that you guided Shmuel to go and chose your servant David, I want to give thanks to you, Abba, because you have chosen us in the same way. Because you saw something in our heart, Abba, at the moment you decided to awaken us. We are nothing without you, O YaHuWaH Elohim. We are just dust of the earth. And in your mercy, your compassion, you have chosen us because you saw something in us, because you saw something in our hearts. And in this moment, Abba, like every day, we want to give our hearts to you, acknowledging, recognizing that you are the only true Elohim, that you deserve all worship and all praises. And as you put in my heart a moment ago, we want to ask you, Abba, that you can strengthen our heart in order to trust you at all times. All your people are going through trials, and it has been in your will that should happen. We ask you, Abba, to give us the strength in order to pass the test, in order to show you, Abba, in order to put a smile in your face, that we, your people, trust in you. That we, your people, believe in you, no matter the storm that we are going through. This is the time, Abba, that we need to get strength from you. And we ask you, Abba, that you can give us of your Ruach, because it's through your Ruach is that we have your strength and your power to do what's your will. Prepare us, Abba, for what's coming. But most importantly, prepare us to do and to fulfill the purpose that you have given us, and to shine your light, and to be those witnesses, to show the world there is a different path, to show the world there is a true path of life that is in you, so they can see the difference between following the broad path that is driving and pushing people into perdition, compared to the narrow path that is taking us to life, to eternal life. Thank you for your Son, Yahushua, because it's through Him and only Him that we are here, trusting in you, believing in you, seeking your face, being your people. If because of His obedience till the end, because of His compassion and His humility, that we are here, being part of your people, Israel. Bless us, Abba, in this gathering. Speak to us. Teach us of your ways and your truth. Me first, and to my brothers and sisters that are here with me. Abba, send us of your many blessings, but most importantly, give us of your presence here in this place and in this time. We pray to you, Abba, with all our heart, and we do it in the name of YaHuWaH Mashiach Malkeinu. Amen. Oof. You know, it's so beautiful to pray to Abba. And I have been telling you that time to time these prayers are so powerful. I feel it so much in my heart when I'm doing it. And it's not because I'm in front of the camera. Don't believe that. You know, something special is happening with us. It's not because we are doing it here in Light to the Nations. It's not because Virtual House Church. It's not because of me. It's not because of you. It's because of Yah. It's because of Abba. He wants something from us. He is preparing us for something. It depends on you and me to be willing to do it. It depends on you and me to be willing to open our heart and to let Him do what He wants to do with us. And, you know, I think He's blessing us so much. And we need to praise Him at all time. Even in the times of difficulties and sadness, we need to keep Him in our minds always. So let's move on, brothers and sisters. You know, I have been talking too much, but it was necessary. So let's read together the portion of today. It's a beautiful one. And I think there are a few things that are so important to highlight. We are going to let the Ruach speak, you know, had only 30 minutes, 40 minutes to read the portion. So, but I like it this way the most, you know. Let's see what the Ruach is revealing to us while we are reading the portion today. I have few notes, and I was just the one that I had the chance to review. So let's see what we find. So the portion of today, just in case you don't remember, is going through chapter 15 and chapter 16. Okay? So it says the following, starting in chapter 15, verse 1. And Shmuel said to Shaul, YaHuWaH sent me to anoint you sovereign over his people, over Israel, and now listen to the voice of the words of YaHuWaH. Thus said YaHuWaH Sebaot, YaHuWaH of hosts, I shall punish Amalek for what he did to Israel, how he set himself against him on the way when he came up from Mizraim. Now, go, and you shall strike Amalek and put under the ban all that he has, and you shall not spare them, and put to death from man to woman, from infant to nursing child, from ox to sheep, from camel to donkey. Then Shaul summoned the people and mustered them in Telaim, 200,000 foot soldiers and 10,000 men of Yehuda. And Shaul came to a city of Amalek and lay in wait in the wadi. So, before continue, I see a strong connection with the end times here. I see a strong connection with a foreshadow of what's coming to the world. We see here YaHuWaH commanding his sovereign, his melech, his king, to go and to destroy the enemies of Israel. And the enemies of Israel in this case means the enemies of YaHuWaH as well. And YaHuWaH is sending his king in order to fulfill his word. And we will read this in the book of Exodus, Shemot, in a minute. But also, we don't see the picture of judgment here only. We see a picture of protection that is so wonderful because somehow it's connected to other passages of the last days that are written in different places of the world, the word. And it says in this part of the protection, it says in the verse 6, and Shaul said to the Canaanites, go, turn aside, come down from among the Amalekites, lest I destroy you with them. For you did show loving commitment to all the children of Israel when they came up out of Mizraim, Egypt. So the Canaanites turned aside from the midst of the Amalekites. And, if we keep in mind and we remember the words against Babylon, we found this in the book of Jeremiah, Yirmiyahu, and also we found this in the book of Revelation, is that YaHuWaH shouting to his people. That's the way that I picture myself, the whole situation. YaHuWaH shouting to his people to come out from Babylon in order not to receive her plagues and her destruction. And, here I see something very similar. The judgment of YaHuWaH is coming against the Amalekites, that in this case represent the world, and those that are hating YaHuWaH. And the Canaanites represent those ones being called out in order to be protected against that judgment. That would be you and me, that are following and showing loving commitment and trusting in YaHuWaH. So the similarities are quite important, and actually in the way that this story is ending is also important, understanding the difference between who is a person who is following YaHuWaH completely versus a person, a king, that it doesn't. And this is the case of Shaul. But let's take a look quite fast to what was the situation with the Amalekites. So let's go to the book of Exodus. And this is in the chapter 17, from verse 8 to 16. And this was after, as is written here in the book of Samuel, is that why YaHuWaH was taking vengeance, and it was very, very tough instruction in order to remove everybody, to put everybody under the ban. And we define and we take a look at what's the origin of the Amalekites. They are coming and they are descendants from Esau. So they are not from the Amorites, they are coming from Esau. So, it's basically a family business here, that Esau and Jacob, and we know how this picture is so prophetic as well, Esau against Jacob, that it gives us more information and give us more the evidence about this picture and foreshadow about for the last days. But let's read what happened during the wilderness time and why YaHuWaH was instructing Shaul to perform this work. It says in the verse 8, and Amalek came and fought with Israel in Rephidim. And Moshe said to Yahushua, this is Joshua ben Nun, choose for us men and go out, fight with Amalek. Tomorrow I am stationing myself on the top of the hill with the rod of Elohim in my hand. And while I read, please try to picture yourself on this foreshadow of the end times. And try to connect to what I said as well at the beginning about trusting in YaHuWaH. Because this passage is so beautiful. Just understand what YaHuWaH can do for us. Just understand that how YaHuWaH is the one fighting the battles for us. That the only thing that we have to do is to trust in Him. So try to picture yourself on what YaHuWaH did here. How He fulfilled His word in this portion that we are reading today, but most importantly, the future and near future, most probably fulfillment of exactly what we see here happening. But in this case, not by the hand of Shaul, it's going to be fulfilled completely by the hand of our rightful King, Yahushua HaMashiach. So let's continue reading in the verse 10. And Yahushua, Joshua ben Nun, did as Moshe said to him, to fight with Amalek. And Moshe, Aaron, and Hur went up to the top of the hill. And it came to be, when Moshe held up his hand, that Israel prevailed. And when he let down his hand, Amalek prevailed. But Moshe's hands were heavy, so they took a stone and put it under him, and he sat on it. And Aaron and Hur supported his hands, one on one side and the other on the other side, and his hands were steady until the going down of the sun. And YaHuWaH said to Moshe, in verse 13, and Yahushua defeated Amalek and his people with the edge of the sword. And YaHuWaH said to Moshe, write this for a remembrance in the book and recite it in the hearing of Yahushua, that I shall completely blot out the remembrance of Amalek from under the heavens. And Moshe built a slaughter place and called its name YaHuWaH Nissi. For he said, because a hand is on the throne of YaHuWaH, YaHuWaH is to fight against Amalek from generation to generation. So, here is even more prophetic to see that YaHuWaH said that, even speaking the hearing of Yahushua in the verse 14, that he shall completely blot out the remembrance of Amalek. And if we consider this as a foreshadow of the end times, we know the beast system, we know the anti-Mashiach that is being in the word of YaHuWaH, in the prophecies of his word. Being a foreshadow here with the king of Amalek, with Amalek himself, or the king of the Amalekites in the portion that we're reading, that needs to be completely blotted out. That was the instruction of YaHuWaH. Why? Because He's removing sin among His people. He's removing sin and everything that is hating YaHuWaH from His creation. And we're going to talk a little bit about that in a minute, in something that it touched my heart when I was reading the portion. But what's the beautiful picture when we understand all of this is that it was YaHuWaH the one giving Amalek into the hands of Yahushua ben Nun. And how this happened is when Moshe was with his two hands on high. And this gives us two things that is so important to remember, is that we need to keep our hands up and high all the time, even if we are down. We need to raise our hands to the Shemaim, to the heaven, and to seek the face of YaHuWaH at all time. Because every time that we have our hands up, is because we are seeking YaHuWaH. And every time that we are seeking YaHuWaH, He is the one giving us the battle. He is the one giving us the win. He is the one fighting for us the battle. And there is something even more interesting for me, and most probably I mentioned this in the past in Virtual House Church, is that when you study this passage, and I was studying in the past about the word emunah. Emunah is belief or faith in Hebrew. It is interesting, that some of these words, and I think it's here. Let me find it very fast for you. Is cannot find it now, but it is here. Is some of these words in this passage in the verse 12 and 11. That is a word emunah, and what it means and what it's representing. That the emunah is something that we need to sustain, is something that we need to keep on going, and we need to keep on high. That's belief and faith. That's the real meaning of faith at the end. That we need to keep it all the time. We need to keep it strong, and we need to sustain it. Because if we let the emunah and the faith down, we are not going to move forward. Things are not going to happen. And this is exactly what we see happening in this portion. The only fact that they were winning is because the emunah was there. They were keeping faith and the hands up with faith, to keep faith up in order to let YaHuWaH to manifest himself with his people. So let's go back to the portion, because there are multiple things there also to talk. So let's continue in the chapter 15. And so let's continue in the verse 7. And Shaul struck the Amalekites from Havilah all the way to Shur, which is before Mizraim. And he caught Agag, sovereign of the Amalekites, alive, and put under the ban all the people with the edge of the sword. But Shaul and the people spared Agag, and the best of the sheep, and the cattle, and the fatlings, and the lambs, and all that was good, and could not put them under the ban. But all goods despised and worthless that they put under the ban. And the word of YaHuWaH came to Shmuel, saying, I am grieved that I have set up Shaul as sovereign, for he has turned back from following me, and has not performed my words. And it displeased Shmuel, and he cried to YaHuWaH all night. And here I want to stop a little bit, because this was I was reading while trying to prepare the portion, that it touched my heart so much. Is that YaHuWaH is expressing emotions in the same way that we are feeling. We are being created unto his image and likeness. And he feels in the same way, and even more, as we feel. It's going to be a funny comparison. Maybe Rob would laugh with this one. But I think it's the best way to picture what I have in my heart for you to understand. There is a movie that is called Bruce Almighty. Most probably you know about it. And we have this character that he take the job of God for the one day or for a few days. I don't remember. But there's a specific point, and that's why it came to my mind that I want to share with you. Is that in one moment this guy, Bruce, he got overwhelmed because he started to hear the voice of all the people in the world. He started to receive all the prayers of the people on the world. He started to feel what the people felt. And that's the picture that I want you to have, is that YaHuWaH feels. If we feel for ourselves in each one of our circumstances, can you understand? Can you imagine how YaHuWaH Elohim feels? Because he feels what everybody in this world is going through. So when I see passages like this one, YaHuWaH speaking in the verse 11, saying, I am grieved that I have set up Shaul as sovereign. I wonder how many times we have made him grieve in his heart because of what we do or what we don't do. And I was taking a look in a few passages that I wanted to share with you about this. And understanding from the bottom line is that he feels in this way. The first intention in our heart should be not to make him grieve. To the contrary, is to put a smile in his face, to make his heart feel joy. And the way to do it is just to understand directly from his word what made him feel that grief. And here we see first example, in this portion. We see exactly in his words saying, I am grieved that I have set up Shaul as sovereign. Why? And this is the first reason, one of the things that makes YaHuWaH feel that grief is because turning back from following him, not performing his words. If we turn our back and we don't follow him, we're going to make him grieve. If we don't perform, we don't put into actions his words, and we just think and believe on them, but we don't do it, we make him feel that grief. Let's go to the book of Genesis, just to understand a little bit more about this. Chapter 6. And we know this passage very, very much, and Rolf did so much studies about this. We were all blessed by what YaHuWaH gave him about these studies on the giants, the Nephilims. But let's read what YaHuWaH was saying, and we are talking about that grief in his heart. It says in the verse 5 and to 7, and YaHuWaH saw that the wickedness of man was great in the earth, and that every inclination of the thoughts of his heart was only evil continually. And YaHuWaH was sorry that he had made man on the earth, and he was grieved in his heart. You see, he's using somehow the same description that he was using in the situation with Saul, that he was sorry that he had made man. He was grieved in his heart. YaHuWaH said, I'm going to wipe off man, whom I have created from the face of the ground, both man and beast, creeping creature and birds of the heavens, for I am sorry that I have made them. Just the parenthesis here. Can you imagine how much grief is in the heart of YaHuWaH this time, when he sees what's going on in the world, when he sees all darkness that is filling the earth, when he sees men and women going astray and committing so much sin? Can you imagine that grief in the heart of our Elohim, desiring the best for the people, for his creation, being so faithful to his loving commitment. That even with all these problems and all this darkness, he's so compassionate that he is giving us the sun, the moon, and the stars to go day after day, as we were reading in Tehillim this week as well, in order to give us light, in order to warm us, in order to let the creation to continue working and providing us food, even in the situation that he sees so much darkness. He's so compassionate that he continue providing to us and to the entire world. Can you imagine what is in his heart? That the only thing that he wants to do is to restore everything as it was at the beginning. But that time is coming, and it's coming by the hand of Yahushua, that he will do it. And in the middle of this darkness, there's only one thing that keep the hope in his heart and keep the smile in his heart. Do you know what that thing is? It's very simple. It's his people. It's the remnant of his people, Israel. He see the hope for humanity in the same way that he saw in Noah in the chapter 6 of Bereshit. When he was feeling that grief in his heart, he saw a righteous one and he saw hope, and that put a smile in his face. He see the saints today. He see the remnant of his people, Israel, you and me. And that made his heart glad. But if we don't follow his ways, if we turn back of following him, if we are thinking and our thoughts, the thoughts of our heart are wickedness and evil all the time, we're going to make him grieve. And there are other passages. Let's go and let's read that. Let's go to the book of Tehillim, Psalms 78. Chapter 32, verse 43. And this is an amazing passage to read completely, because it's talking about the entire story of Israel somehow. So it says the following: in spite of all this, they still sin, talking about the first generation of Israel, and did not believe in his wonders. So he ended their days in a breath and their years in trouble. When he killed them, then they sought him, and they returned and did earnestly seek El. And they remembered that Elohim was their rock, and the Most High El, their Redeemer. But they flattered him with their mouth, and they lied to him with their tongue. For their heart was not steadfast with him, and they were not true to his covenant. But he, the compassionate one, pardoned crookedness, and did not destroy them. And many a time he turned his displeasure away, and did not stir up all his wrath. For he remembered that they were but flesh, and passing breath that does not return. How often they rebelled against him in the wilderness, and grieved him in the desert. And again they tried El, and provoked the set-apart one of Israel. They did not remember his hand, the day when he redeemed them from the adversary. How he worked his signs in Mizraim and his wonders in the fields of Zoan. So every time that we are in rebellion, every time that we try him, every time that we forget him, we make his heart grieve. Let's go and let's read the chapter 95, just to complete the picture. And this is something, it's close to my heart, because we all the time going through difficulties. We all go through times of bitterness and sadness and challenges. And just to remember that YaHuWaH is always feeling in the same way and even more than us, is that should be in our mind all the time. Because it will help us to make different type of decisions and actions, looking and seeking to make him happy. So let's read together in the verse 90. We're going to read entirely, it's only 11 passages. Come, let us sing to YaHuWaH. Let us raise a shout to the rock of our deliverance. Let us come before his face with thanksgiving. Let us raise a shout to him in song. For YaHuWaH is a great El, and a great sovereign above all mighty ones, in whose hand are the depths of the earth. The mountain peaks are his also. His is the sea, for he made it, and his hands formed the dry land. Come, let us bow down and bend low. Let us kneel before YaHuWaH our Maker. For he is our Elohim, and we are the people of his pasture, and the sheep of his hand. Today, if you could hear his voice, do not harden your hearts as in Meribah, and as in the day of Massah in the wilderness, when your fathers tried me, have proved me, though they saw my work. And listen this, for 40 years I was grieved with that generation, and said, they are a people who go astray in their hearts, and they do not know my ways, as I swore in my wrath, if they enter into my rest. For 40 years, he was feeling that grief because of the unfaithfulness of the first generation. They were not following YaHuWaH completely, as we were studying a few weeks ago. What he's expecting for the remnant of his people in these days is that we need to follow him completely, that we need to be obedient to his word, that we need to follow the step of Mashiach in order not to commit the same mistakes that Shaul was committing, as we were reading in this portion today. We need to make our Elohim smile and not to feel grief, because if we do that, there are much more hope for this world full of darkness, because YaHuWaH will put his hope in Yahushua HaMashiach and his remnant of the people of Israel, and you and me. And as I was telling to you last week, and this is exactly what is in my heart, that we will work together with Mashiach in order to restore righteousness and shalom on earth. And I'm expecting, and I know that you are expecting for that time to happen soon, where we are going to have, as the song was saying, peace finally, shalom over Jerusalem, shalom in our heart, shalom in the entire world. So let's go back to 1 Samuel and let's continue reading. Just something that after this broadcast, we need to record the Tehillims that we are reading for next week, starting tomorrow. And I think this voice is going to be really nice because it's more likely for the radio show somehow. So we're going to have a different voice for the Tehillim, in my case, for my part, for this coming week. So let's go back to 1 Samuel. So let's continue reading in verse 12. It says, and Shmuel rose early in the morning to meet Shaul. And it was told to Shmuel, saying, Shaul went to Carmel, and see, he set up a monument for himself. Then turned and passed over and went down to Gilgal. Can you see, yes, we started to see, and we were speaking about that a few weeks ago, we started to see what was really in the heart of Shaul. His ego was so high when he was so small at the beginning that he didn't want to take even the role of king. And now his ego was so high that he set up for himself a monument. Instead of giving all the kavod, all the glory, all the honor to YaHuWaH for everything he does. So it says in the verse 13. And Shmuel came to Shaul, and Shaul said to him, Blessed are you of YaHuWaH. I have performed the word of YaHuWaH. And we were talking about this last week. You know, people that believe that they're rendering service to Elohim when they are not. And this is exactly what Shaul did. I'm quite sure that he was so convinced that he was doing the work of YaHuWaH, that he was totally blind to see that he was not doing it, that he was doing his own will. So that's why, the first thing he said, I have performed the word of YaHuWaH. But Shmuel said in the verse 14, What then is this bleating of the sheep in my ears, and the lowing of the cattle which I hear? And Shaul said, They have brought them from Amalek, just to put the blame in somebody else. It's something like we see happening. This is in the flesh that we see happening in the Garden of Eden. They have brought them from Amalek because the people spared the best of the sheep and the cattle to slaughter to YaHuWaH your Elohim, and the rest we have put under the ban. So, they are deciding to serve YaHuWaH according to their own will and their own understanding. Isn't it that what's happening today as well? People in Christianity mostly, and I praise YaHuWaH that many people as we do is being awakened to the truth of the whole word of YaHuWaH. But there are certain tendencies in religion that they usually speak about the love of YaHuWaH, but they don't speak about the truth and the justice of YaHuWaH. So by speaking about only one aspect of the character of YaHuWaH Elohim, one aspect of the way of YaHuWaH, they miss the mark. And it pushed them to serve YaHuWaH according to their own will and according to their own understanding. And being wise according to our own understanding, it leads us astray. It's exactly what Shaul was doing. He was trying to serve YaHuWaH according to his own understanding. And he was so convinced that he was doing it right that he was not able to see the huge mistake that he was doing. We need to pray to YaHuWaH to help us not to fall down on the same mistake, not to fall on the same mistake. And we need to pray for our families. We need to pray for our brothers and sisters. We need to pray for our friends. We need to pray for the people that with a sincere heart are seeking YaHuWaH, but they have not been able to get the entire truth of His word. We need to pray for them because they are really looking and seeking YaHuWaH and they want to serve Him, but they are not being led in the right way. And the only one that can lead them in the right way is Yahushua HaMashiach, in the same way that He led you and led me to the path where we are now. So we need to keep them in our prayers in order for them to see and not to have the same mistake as Shaul did, that they are following and serving YaHuWaH in a way that YaHuWaH doesn't like, in a way that YaHuWaH is not looking for. We need to keep them in our prayers. So let's continue. And Shmuel said to Shaul, in the verse 16, Wait, and let me declare to you what YaHuWaH said to me last night. And he said to him, Speak. And Shmuel said, Though you were little in your own eyes, were you not head of the tribes of Israel? And did not YaHuWaH know you sovereign over Israel? And YaHuWaH sent you on the way and said, Go, and you shall put under the ban the sinners, the Amalekites, and fight against them until they are consumed. And why did you not obey the voice of YaHuWaH, but swooped down on the spoil and did evil in the eyes of YaHuWaH? These so strong words, and we need to keep it in order to analyze ourselves, in order to help others also to see it, that serving Yahuwah needs to be according to what He's asking us to do, not according to our own understanding. And this passage, this portion, is so clear on this. Even Shaul was not able to see it yet, because we see what he answered in the verse 20. And Shaul said to Shemuel, I did obey the voice of Yahuwah. I went on the way on which Yahuwah sent me, and brought back Agag, sovereign of Amalek, and I put Amalek under the ban. He was blind, he was not able to see it. And we know the only one that is able to open the eyes, because we have experienced this in our own lives, is YaHuWaH Elohim through the Ruach. You know, we cannot open the eyes of the people. The only one opening the eyes was Yahushua HaMashiach, with all the miracles he performed. And he's the one opening the eyes of the people in these days through the Ruach HaKodesh. For sure, he can use us as a vessel for his work. And we need to be willing, when the time is coming, to perform those actions. But we are not going to be the one opening the eyes of the people. It's Yahushua HaMashiach, as he always did and does, through the Ruach HaKodesh. So in this case, Shaul was not able to see that he was not serving Yahuwah, and he truly believed that he was doing it right. So let's continue in the verse 21. But the people took the spoil of the sheep, on the cattle, and the best of what which should have been put under the ban to slaughter to YaHuWaH your Elohim in Gilgal. So he was still insisting that I'm rendering service to Elohim. I'm rendering service to YaHuWaH your Elohim, according to his own understanding, instead of following YaHuWaH. Then Shmuel said, does YaHuWaH delight in ascending offerings and slaughterings, as in obeying the voice of YaHuWaH? Look, to obey is better than slaughtering. To heed is better than the fat of rams. And this is very strong because it's the comparison of how YaHuWaH sees things, what has a priority in the mind of YaHuWaH, what he's expecting from you and from me in these times. For rebellion is as the sin of divination, and stubbornness is as wickedness and idolatry. Because you have rejected the word of YaHuWaH, he also does reject you as sovereign. Obey is better than slaughtering. Obey is better than slaughtering. You know, last week we were studying about how to lose our crown. You know, and that's why this portion and the portion from last week are so well connected between each other. You know, because of rejecting the word of YaHuWaH is clearly seen here. YaHuWaH can reject us, and we can lose our crown of king and priest, as we have been called out to be. So, you know, brothers and sisters, obedience is so important. Obedience to the voice of YaHuWaH. Obedience to his word and to his truth needs to be in our heart all the time. We need to be obedient to YaHuWaH Elohim and not to fall in the same mistake of Shaul. And let's continue reading. You know, we're gonna continue reading. I see some of you in the chat that are being concerned about my voice. Yes, we're gonna finish and we're gonna put a song, so I'm gonna rest my voice a little bit. So let's continue reading. And it says in the verse 24, and Shaul said to Shmuel, I have sinned, for I have transgressed the mouth of YaHuWaH and your words, because I fear the people and listen to their voice. And this is so important, you know, connected to what we say at the beginning. I fear the people and listen to their voice. Last week happened exactly the same. Last week we saw in that portion that Shaul was feeding the people, that's why he was offering the slaughter offerings instead of waiting for Shmuel. So this is giving us an idea of the type of person we should not be. We should not fear people. We need to fear and we need to revere. We need to have that reverence for YaHuWaH Elohim. Every time that we fear people, we are going to be in problems with the Most High. So our fear needs to be in one direction only, to YaHuWaH Elohim of Israel, not to fear people. And you know what's going on in this world today? Everybody is on fear. You know, I can tell you in my work this week, you know, everybody that was hearing me cough in the meetings or with this voice was very concerned and was asking, Juan Carlos, what you got? Is the thing that's going on? I was saying, no, don't worry, it's a strong cut, flu only. So it's nothing with the rest. What's the point, you know? People is in fear today for everything. People is in fear for the illness that are going on. People is in fear because of a war that is going on. People is in fear that the world is falling apart. We can be in fear as well. But if we are in fear on the name of YaHuWaH Elohim, we know that the storm can come. We know that the world can fall apart. But we know that YaHuWaH will sustain us through the process. And we know that YaHuWaH will raise us up after the storm, because the calm is coming by his right hand, Yahushua HaMashiach. So let's continue reading. And now please pardon my sin and return with me, and let me bow myself to YaHuWaH. But Shmuel said to Shaul, I do not return with you, for you have rejected the word of YaHuWaH, and YaHuWaH does reject you from being sovereign over Israel. And as Shmuel turned around to go away, Shaul took hold of the edge of his robe, and it tore. And this is so important. I want to talk about this a little bit. And Shmuel said to him, YaHuWaH has turned the reign of Israel from you today, and has given it to a neighbor of yours, better than you, losing the crown. Moreover, the eminence of Israel does not lie nor relent, for he is not a man that he should relent. Then he said, I have sinned, but esteem me now, please, before the elders of my people, feeding the people once again. And return with me, and I shall bow myself to YaHuWaH your Elohim. I'm not going to continue reading because you already know the part of the story. And Shmuel took the life of Amalek. He fulfilled the will of YaHuWaH, things that Shaul was not able to do. And that's what we need to be careful about. If we are not fulfilling our purpose and what YaHuWaH has been sending us to do, somebody else will do it. And we are not going to be in good position in front of YaHuWaH. We can lose our crown. So it's important that we need to be obedient to the word of YaHuWaH. But what about the tearing down the cloth? And this, I saw something that is so beautiful. But let me drink a little bit of water. So it says that, Shaul turned around and he held of the edge of his robe and it tore. And what was the meaning is that Shmuel was telling him that the YaHuWaH has turned the reign of Israel from you today. So the meaning of tearing the cloth is the destruction of something, is the division of something. And, when I was reading this, it was impossible not to think about so many stories in the scripture when people was tearing down the clothes before sin. And I think that's the meaning, is the destruction of something, is the destruction of the kingdom, is the destruction of, in the case of tearing down the cloth in front of sin, because sin somehow was related to, so I don't want sin within me. And in this case, is sinning, tearing down and dividing the kingdom. But it's something beautiful that I saw that I want to share with you, because we see a similar thing happening in the book of 1 Kings, Melachim Aleph, chapter 11, verse 29 to 32. And this is the division of the two houses, and we see something very similar, and it says in the 29, and it came to be at the time when Jeroboam went out of Jerusalem, that the prophet Ahijah, the Shilonite, met him on the way, and he was wearing a new garment. And the two were alone in the field. And Ahijah took hold of the new garment that was on him, and tore it in 12 pieces, and said to Jeroboam, take for yourself 10 pieces, for thus said YaHuWaH the Elohim of Israel, see, I am tearing the reign out of the hand of Shlomo, and I shall give 10 tribes to you, but he shall have 1 tribe for the sake of my servant David, and for the sake of Jerusalem, the city which I have chosen out of all the tribes of Israel. So we see here the same thing happening, tearing down in pieces the garment as a foreshadow of the division of the kingdom. We see this happening in the first king of Israel, Shaul, in the case of with the prophet Shemuel, and we see this happening again with in the time of the division of the two houses. But something else happened with somebody else, with another king. That something happened with his garments. That I think when I saw it, it was so beautiful. So let's go and let's see it. Let's go to the book of John. YaHuWaH in Hebrew, chapter 19. We're going to read from verse 23 and 24. And it was during the suffering of Yahushua in the stake. And it says, then the soldiers, when they had impaled Yahushua, took his outer garments and made 4 parts. Okay, they divided the garments, the outer one. It's similar, to what we see happening in the past about, division and division of the kingdom. To each soldier apart. And the inner garment, but listen to this. But the inner garment was without seam, woven from the top in 1 piece. So they said to each other, let us not tear it, but cast lots for it, whose it shall be, in order that the scripture might be filled, which says, they divided my garments among them, and for my clothing they cast lots. The soldier therefore did this. When I saw this, I found it so beautiful, because no matter that they were dividing the outer garments, as it said here, the inner garment was intact. Let us not tear it, it says. And for me, this is a beautiful picture of the kingdom. A beautiful picture of the kingdom from the previous one. In the 2 examples that I was sharing with you, the garment was torn as an evidence of the division of the kingdom. But in this case, the inner garment of Yahushua was kept intact, meaning that in Yahushua HaMashiach, the kingdom is not divided. In Yahushua HaMashiach, the kingdom is one. As it is written in the prophecy, in this amazing prophecy, in the book of Ezekiel, Yehezkel, chapter 37, is that in the hand of Yahushua is going to be the stick of Joseph and the stick of Yehuda, and he is going to make from the 2 1 tree, and in his hand is going to be 1 king and 1 kingdom. And this for me is a beautiful picture of what we saw happening, in the past. So, brothers and sisters, before moving on to the next portion, let me share with you a song. We'll drink a little bit of water. Let's listen to this nice song from Jake. I like it. Here we go.
My My son, listen to the words I speak, the truth, it's calling. Hearken to the voice above to keep from falling. When the wicked call out your name to find and entice you, then you must stay strong, do not follow them. Men in high places controlling the masses, the words that they speak will be hardening your heart. Question your burden, for the yoke is easy, your pain and your trials will bring you to light. All in or nothing, please wake up, you're dreaming, the time is now short, alarm in your heart. Purpose beginning, complacency ending, but heartless, the lawless never look up. Wake up the people, all the blind sitting under the steeples, so many lies and inherited evils. Wake up the people, all the blind sitting under the steeples, so many lies and inherited evils. Living and dying, their insights colliding, they're finding their way through the shadow of day. You must not hearken to the voice of prophets if their words distract you from the perfect way. Who then will guide you, the truth that's inside you, the words of Most High, hidden inside. Then Yah will lead you, but first He must free you from love of the world, which glitters and shines. Wake up the people, all the blind sitting under the steeples, all the lies and inherited evils. Wake up the people, all the blind sitting under the steeples, all the lies and inherited evils. Buried like gold, blind lose their soul, must break their hold, escape your asylum, prisons and minds, locked into time, don't fall in line, escape your asylum. Wake up the people, all the blind sitting under the steeples, all the lies and inherited evils. Wake up the people, all the blind sitting under the steeples, all the lies and inherited evils. Wake up the people, all the blind sitting under the steeples, all the lies and inherited evils. Wake up the people, all the blind sitting under the steeples, all the lies and inherited evils.
So wake up the people, this is exactly what we need to do. We need to wake up ourselves and we need to wake up the people around us. I was just checking the chat, so I see that Sister Payne is talking about the cookbook, and I have a recipe to share it. I wanted to do it for the Chag Hamatzot, but I didn't have the time to record it, and it has become my specialty to say so. we usually prepare it for Friday night. That we are having some a dinner, the preparation for Shabbat, and for sure I will share it with you all. Just for you to get interested. It's a pizza matzah, and I will record maybe a video. I will share it with you because I like it so much here at home. They like it so much. We prepare it most of the time, so I will join to the idea. I think it's a good initiative. So let's continue with the chapter 16. I don't have so much. I didn't have, as I told you at the beginning, time to prepare so much. But let's see how the Ruach is leading us to see what he's bringing for us in this chapter. Okay. Yeah, it's very yummy. It's very, very delicious. Believe me, you will like it. I will record the video next time that I prepare. Okay, I will share it in this channel, and I will share the recipe as well, so you can enjoy it. So let's focus back on the portion, and let's read together the verse 16. It's only 23 verses. So let's see what the Ruach is bringing to us. So it says the following, and YaHuWaH said to Shmuel, how long are you going to mourn for Shaul, seeing I have rejected him from reigning over Israel? Fill your horn with oil, and go. I am sending you to Yishai the Beit Lehemite, for I have seen among his sons a sovereign for myself. And, I want to stop here for a minute. This was the last note that I had the chance to take before the broadcast. And connected with something that I was reading in the scripture a few months ago when I was going through some difficulties. And, it spoke YaHuWaH so strongly through his word to me back then. And that I remembered that passage when I was reading the verse 1 on this portion in the chapter 16 that I want to share with you. If we imagine what happening with Shmuel started to serve YaHuWaH when he was a babe, an infant. And he was the one being rejected to continue with his family as the judge, the Shofetim, because people started to ask for a king, for a melech. And I have been telling you and pray to YaHuWaH that we will have the time in order to share this study with you about what was the purpose behind of the Melech and what's the coming Melech Israel, Most of us, they answered when I asked that question a few weeks ago, that is Yahushua HaMashiach, but there is something more profound to study about it. So, Shmuel was feeling bad because YaHuWaH was rejecting the first king, and he was the one, the prophet, the shofet, that he was transitioning his role to a new role, to Melech, and he was the one having the blessing to anoint the first king of Israel. So for sure he was the Gracias. We follow your suggestions, so here I have a hot drink. Gracias. So he was feeling bad. He was feeling bad, and he was going through those emotions, and he was feeling that grief in his heart as well. But YaHuWaH was telling him this amazing thing, and this is speaking to you and to me when we're going through some difficulties. How long are you going to mourn for Shaul, seeing I have rejected him from reigning for Israel? In the book of Kohelet, this is Ecclesiastes, chapter 3, verse 1 to 4, we see the following. For every matter there is an appointed time, even a time for every pursuit under the heavens, a time to be born and a time to die, a time to plant and a time to uproot, a time to kill and a time to heal, a time to break down and a time to build up, a time to weep and a time to laugh, a time to mourn and a time to dance. For everything there is a time, there is an appointed time. But the point is that we need to ask and we need to pray to YaHuWaH that He is the one giving us the strength every time that we are in grief, every time that we are in sadness, to giving us the strength to get out of that emotion, to get out of that situation and that circumstance, and to stand up and to continue moving on. And there are so many promises, and we can go multiple verses in the scripture that the YaHuWaH is going to be the one turning our mourning into dancing, and we are waiting for that time to happen. But in the time being, He's the one giving us the strength in order to get up, in order to stand up and to continue progressing and walking forward into His kingdom, and not to get trapped into the circumstances that we have to live sometimes. That all those are the tests and the trials that YaHuWaH is bringing in order to test what is in our heart. But the worst particular one, a few months ago, as I told you, that was like YaHuWaH telling me the same way that He was telling Shmuel, come on, until when? You need to move on. You need to move on and you need to continue. And you know that passage, and I'm going to share with you because it's totally connected to the first passage in this portion in the chapter 16. It's in the book of 2 Samuel. This is Shmuel Bet in Hebrew, 2 Samuel. And I think it's in the chapter 19. Yes, and we are going to read from verse 1 to verse 7. And just for you to have the context, and you can read the previous chapter 18, this was the time of Absalom, the son of David, that he raised up against his father, and he conquered Jerusalem, and he took over the kingdom, and David had to run away to the wilderness. So, YaHuWaH was restoring David, and he was restoring the kingdom to David. And that was the entire context, okay? And Absalom died, So that's the entire context in order to understand that what we're going to read here on the screen in the scripture from verse 1 to verse 7 on the chapter 19 of 2 Samuel. And it says the following. And it was reported to Joab, see, the sovereign is weeping and mourning for Absalom. So the deliverance that day was turned into mourning for all the people. For the people heard on that day saying, the sovereign has been grieved for his son. So you see, YaHuWaH was bringing an amazing deliverance for David and the people of Israel that were with David, with the king. But that deliverance and that joy was turning into mourning. Why? Because the king was in grief. Okay? And the people stole back into the city that day as people who are ashamed, steal away when they flee in battle. And the sovereign covered his face, and the sovereign cried out with a loud voice, O my son Absalom! O Absalom, my son, my son! And Joab came into the house of the sovereign and said, and listen to this sometimes, YaHuWaH is using other person, more people in order to speak to our heart. In the case of Shmuel, was YaHuWaH himself directly telling Shmuel, till when you are going to continue mourning? In this case, YaHuWaH was using Joab in order to raise up the king, in order to do what is right, in order for him to remove the blindness of his mind because of the emotions that he was going through, in order to stand up and understand that YaHuWaH was with him, and everything that happened was the purpose that YaHuWaH was bringing into his life. So it says the following, and Joab came into the house of the sovereign and said, today you have put to shame all your servants who today have saved your life, and the lives of your sons and daughters, and the lives of your wives, and the lives of your concubines, by loving those who hate you, and by hating those who love you. For you have made it clear today that you have neither commanders nor servants. For today I know that if Absalom had lived, and all of us had died today, then it would be right in your eyes. Thank you. I wasn't sharing the screen. So there you have. So let me read it again. And Joab came into the house of the sovereign and said, today you have put to shame all your servants who today have saved your life, and the lives of your sons and daughters, and the lives of your wives and the lives of your concubines by loving those who hate you, and by hating those who love you. For you have made it clear today that you have neither commanders nor servants, for today I know that if Absalom had lived and all of us had died today, then it would be right in your eyes. That's what emotions sometimes blind us. It doesn't let us see the reality of what YaHuWaH is doing in our lives. Loving those who hate you, he was telling, instead of loving those who trust in you and help you. So let's listen on the verse 7. And now arise, go out and speak to the heart of your servants, for I swear by YaHuWaH, if you do not go out, no one passes the night with you, And that is worse for you than all the evil that has come upon you from your youth until now. You know, when I was reading this in the past, it was like, receiving was beaten in my head with stick by YaHuWaH, telling me, come on, realize, understand, stand up. And this is exactly what YaHuWaH was doing with Shmuel in this portion. Until when you're going to mourn? And this should be our mindset. That should be our mind and our soul every time that we're going through difficulties. Is that we need to ask YaHuWaH to open our eyes, to help us to stand up, to understand who is around us, to understand those are loving us versus those are hating us. And this can be applicable to any situation, not only to people, to any situation. To understand that we were doing the will of YaHuWaH, that should be giving us the joy in our heart and the peace in our heart, no matter the circumstances are difficult. That should be more than enough in order to have the joy in our heart. So let's go back to the portion, in the verse 16. I just wanted to share this with you all because I think it's important. Sometimes we have this tendency to get trapped in our emotions and we are not moving on. And getting trapped in our emotions is not let us to fulfill our purpose, the purpose that YaHuWaH is giving to us. Okay? So let's continue reading. And it says in the verse 2, and Shmuel said, how would I go? When Shaul hears it, he shall kill me. And YaHuWaH said, take a heifer with you and say, I have come to slaughter to YaHuWaH. And you shall invite Yishai to the slaughtering. Then let me show you what to do. And you shall anoint for me the one that I say to you. Why am I laughing? Because I remember that we touched this passage in the past here in Virtual House Church. It was a little bit funny because I remember the comment I made is that everybody was afraid of everybody here, Shmuel was afraid of Shaul. And even if we read later, it says in the verse 4, and Shmuel did what YaHuWaH said and went to Bethlehem. This is Belem. And the elders of the town trembled at his coming and said, do you come in peace? So the people of the town were afraid of Shmuel. So everybody was afraid of everybody. And I remember I made this comment because of what's going to happen in the world, Today, everybody's afraid of everybody as well. So that's why we need to trust in YaHuWaH because, even if we are afraid, in this case, Shmuel was afraid of Shaul. He trusted in YaHuWaH and he was obedient. So it is natural to feel fear, but fear cannot stop us to fulfill the word and the will of YaHuWaH. And this is exactly what Shmuel did here. So let's continue. And in verse 5 it says, and he said, in peace, I have come to slaughter to YaHuWaH. Set yourselves apart, and you shall come with me to the slaughtering. And he set Yishai and his sons apart, and invited them to the slaughtering. And it came to be when they came, that he saw Eliab, and thought, the anointed of YaHuWaH is indeed before him. He got used to see the tallest of the tallest, the handsome of the handsome, when he was chosen to Shaul. So he was doing it, he was going to do it in the same way. But YaHuWaH had a different purpose. But YaHuWaH said to Shmuel in verse 7, do not look at his appearance, or at the height of his stature, because I have refused him. For not as man sees, for man looks at the eyes, but YaHuWaH looks at the heart. And I think last week we were speaking a lot about the heart. And, we need to give our heart to YaHuWaH. He is looking and testing our heart all the time. It is written in many places that he is checking our heart and our kidneys, every night, every day. And the heart is not, it's not this organ that is in the middle of our chest. This is something even more greater than what we think is what we are. It's connected to our ruach somehow. So our heart, we need to pray, YaHuWaH that He is giving us a new heart of flesh instead of a heart of stone, because He's looking at what is in our heart. I mean, if our heart is good, we are being in good shape with Elohim. And that should be some of the priorities in life, to have the heart of Elohim. And we will have the heart of Elohim, as we were reading last week, That's the promise as part of the Brit Hadashah, the new covenant, the renewed covenant, that He is changing our heart. He's giving us a new heart, and He is the one writing down in the tablet of our hearts His Torah, And that's what YaHuWaH is looking for, the heart, a contrite heart, a heart that is following Him completely. And this is exactly what He found in David. So let's continue reading. Then Yishai called Abinadab and made him pass before Shmuel. And he said, neither has YaHuWaH chosen this one. Next Yishai made Shammah pass by. And he said, neither has YaHuWaH chosen this one. And Yishai made 7 of his sons pass before Shmuel. Shmuel said to Yishai, YaHuWaH has not chosen this. This has a prophetic implication as well with the 7 sons going on. The 8 is the name of restoration. And David represent restoration. It's like Shmini Atzeret, during Sukkot. It's the last great day. It's restoration of the kingdom. It could represent the 7,000 years, And at the end of the millennial kingdom is the full restoration of everything. But it's also speaking to, to us in the process, as I was praying to Abba at the beginning. We are the smallest ones, most probably. We are not the wiser ones. But even though YaHuWaH has seen your heart and has seen my heart, and He found something in the same way that He found something in the heart of David. And that's why He shows you and He shows me. Now it depends 100% on us, what we are going to do about it. Are we going to follow Him completely? Or are we going to fall in the same mistakes than Shaul, that ended up losing his crown? And the picture is so beautiful that, last week I was sharing with you the parable of the bad shepherd, you remember? But here we see the picture of the good shepherd. And the picture of the good shepherd is Yahushua HaMashiach here in the life of David. When Shmuel said to Yishai in the verse 11, are these all the young men? And he said, there remains yet the youngest. And see, he's tending the sheep. And Shmuel said to Yishai, send and bring him, for we do not turn around till he comes here. And he sent and brought him in, and he was ruddy, with bright eyes, and handsome. And YaHuWaH said, arise, anoint him, for he is the one. I wish, I hope to have the same relationship that Shmuel was having with YaHuWaH. It's so amazing to see how YaHuWaH was speaking to Shmuel, telling him, do this is the one, do that. This is the type of relationship and closeness we need to develop with our Elohim. That type of intimate relationship that it will help us to hear His voice without having doubts in our minds or hearts that He is the one speaking to us. Having this type of relationship that He is guiding us on His will, and having the obedient heart to fulfill what He's telling us to do. We need to pray for that, for YaHuWaH to guide us in the same way He did with Shmuel. And Shmuel took the horn of oil and anointed him in the midst of his brothers. And the Ruach of YaHuWaH came upon David from that day onwards, and Shmuel arose and went to Ramah. And the Ruach of YaHuWaH turned aside from Shaul, and an evil spirit from YaHuWaH troubled him. So we see, again, the Ruach of YaHuWaH, and we spoke a lot about that in previous portions. And this is what we need to start praying about to YaHuWaH, that we need His Ruach upon us. We need His Ruach to fill us in these days, because it's through His Ruach that we are going to be able to win the battles. It's through His Ruach that we are going to be able to fulfill the will and the purpose of YaHuWaH in our lives. It was through the Ruach of Elohim, the Ruach HaKodesh, that the first disciples were able to fulfill the mission that Yahushua HaMashiach was given them to do. And that mission is the same mission that you and me have. And Yahushua HaMashiach said that, He's sending the helper. He's sending the Ruach HaKodesh to guide us in all His words, that we will receive power from above when the Ruach of YaHuWaH will come upon us. And I think, and I was sharing this with you a few weeks ago as well, I think the time is coming, and it's coming soon. And we need to prepare our heart for that time, that the Ruach will descend with power upon the remnant of His people. That latter rain is coming, and it's coming soon. So we need to have our heart ready for that time, because that outpouring of the Ruach HaKodesh is with one purpose. As in, what's the purpose? Is to fulfill the mission that Yahushua HaMashiach gave you and me in order for us to prepare the way of the second coming of Yahushua HaMashiach. And that's why we need to pray all the time for that Ruach. We need to pray all the time for the Ruach of YaHuWaH to descend upon us in the same way that was descending upon David and the many others. So, and we see something happening here, at that very moment, the Ruach of YaHuWaH left, turned aside from Shaul, and that opened the space for an evil spirit to trouble Shaul. And maybe we should study this in more details. But Yahushua was speaking a lot about this, and this is something that we need to take care of our house, this house. We need to take care of this house, the temple of the Ruach HaKodesh. Because if the temple is empty, we have the door open for any type of spirit to get in and to dwell in that house. And Yahushua was speaking about that when He was talking about the stronger men, when he was casting out demons, saying that the strong man needs to be trapped first and removed. But the point is that the house is not being filled, in this case with the Ruach of Elohim, and the houses get empty again. The previous spirit can come even with 7 worst spirit in order to do disasters on the house. So this is something that we need to be careful enough and pray enough. That's why we need the Ruach of Elohim, the one filling this house of the presence of YaHuWaH Elohim. Because having this house filled with the presence of YaHuWaH, as it was the Mishkan, the tabernacle, and the house, the Hechal, the temple, YaHuWaH Himself will be here, guiding us in the same way that Shmuel was being guided by YaHuWaH. So let's continue reading. And the servants of Shaul said to him, "Look now, an evil spirit from Elohim is troubling you. Please let our master command your servants who are before you to seek out a man who is a skilled player on the lyre. And it shall be that when the evil spirit from Elohim is upon you, that he shall play with his hand and you will well." And Shaul said to his servants, "Please get me a man that plays well and bring him to me." And one of the servants answered and said, Look, I have seen a son of Yishai the Bethlehem, who knows how to play, a brave one, and a man of battle, and skilled in words, and a handsome man, and YaHuWaH is with him. So Shaul sent messengers to Yishai and said, Send me your son David, who is with the sheep. And Yishai took a donkey loaded with bread and a skin of wine and young goat, and sent them by his son David to Shaul. And David came to Shaul and stood before him, and he loved him greatly, and he became his armor-bearer. Shaul therefore sent to Yishai, saying, Please let David stand before me, for he has found favor in my eyes. And it came to be, whenever the evil spirit from Elohim was upon Shaul, that David could take the lyre and play it with his hand. Then Shaul could become refreshed and well, and the evil spirit would have leave him. And this speaks a lot to me. I will share something, a thought that came to my mind, my spirit, around 5-6 years ago, and it's related to exactly to the comment that I just see in the chat. It's about the power of music. And it's not only the power of music, it's the power of our senses. We need to be extra careful on what we hear and what we see. Because, especially on what we see. Because the eyes are the lamp of the Ruach. If we let anything to enter through these lamps, we are opening the door for evil spirits to get in and to torture us. Evil spirit, we need to remember, evil spirits are the spirits of the giants. And the purpose of them is written in the book of Enoch, is just to destroy. And in the way they destroy us is in the battle that is here in our mind. Every evil thought that is in our mind, that is coming from our heart, is because it's an evil spirit that is trying to destroy us. So if we let anything to enter on what we see, and we are not wise to decide on what to see and what to hear, we are opening the doors of this house for the evil spirits to enter. And we see here something totally opposite, and how YaHuWaH is restoring through music. If we hear and we see what is aligned and in harmony with the kingdom of YaHuWaH, good things will happen, because it is written that YaHuWaH Elohim dwells in the praises of his people. Every time that we praise him, his presence is with us. And that's why, there is a spiritual warfare. It's a spiritual world. It's a spiritual realm that we need to acknowledge that is true. I think yesterday I was making this comment that is, what we see today is mostly a lie. What is true is what we don't see, The spiritual world and the spiritual realm is it's more true than what we are able to see with our eyes. So if we really acknowledge these kind of things, and we understand that there are evil spirits that they want to destroy us, we need to understand that through music and also through what we see, we can open the door for that. And the only one that can save us and help us and deliver us is Yahushua HaMashiach. If you're going through some difficult situation and these thoughts are going in your mind, and you feel, and the only one that can acknowledge about this battle is you individually. If you see that battle happening in your mind, you need to understand that those are evil spirits that are trying to destroy you. And the only one that can deliver you is Yahushua HaMashiach through the Ruach HaKodesh. So, brothers and sisters, let's be cautious, especially in this world today of so much deceit. Especially today that the cup with the wine of the whore of Babylon, that is with all this fornication and the wickedness and so on, as it's written in the book of Revelation, is being, poured out in the four corners of the earth. And all the world is drunk with that wine. We need to be careful on what we hear and what we see, because we need to protect this house, the temple of YaHuWaH. We need to make and keep this temple pure, tahor. And that's the only way that He is going to dwell with us. So, brothers and sisters, I think this is what I have to share with you today. I hope, it's been a blessing to me today, somehow different. I feel it in my heart. My heart is filled completely. And no matter my voice and my congestion, what it matters is what is in the heart. This is what YaHuWaH is looking for. So, I really hope that what YaHuWaH is doing with us in these times is bringing blessings to your life. The times are difficult, that's true. But as YaHuWaH told us a few weeks ago, while darkness is increasing, His light is also increasing in parallel. And that light is increasing in the heart of His people, in the heart of His remnant. And you and me are part of that remnant. So we need to keep praying to YaHuWaH to guide us in all His truth in these times. We need to keep praying to YaHuWaH to guide us to fulfill our purpose, to strengthen us in order, as I said at the beginning of the broadcast, to trust in Him at all time. So, brothers and sisters, thank you so much for joining me today. And I hope to see you next week, we will continue with the portion of Samuel. There are so many beautiful stories that are coming in the coming portions that I do believe is going to be a blessing to all of us to continue this cycle. So once again, thank you so much for joining me in Virtual House Church today. I'm already waiting for next week, This is a time for the joy. Believe me, it's a time for joy. That's why I don't get tired of speaking too much. During the week, I don't speak too much. I think I'm not reserving my words for this Virtual House Church. So I'm already waiting for next week. And I hope you are waiting as well for next week. In the meantime, I hope this broadcast has been a blessing to you all. I hope the message that YaHuWaH has put forth today has been a blessing to you as it is a blessing to me. And let's keep praying for one another, that this week is going to be a blessing to all of you, to all of us. And until then, let's wait for next Shabbat, let's wait for next week, and we'll see each other here in the chat in a new study of the Word of YaHuWaH in the cycle of 1 Samuel. So, Shabbat Shalom, thank you so much. YaHuWaH be with you all. See you next week. Bye.
יברכך יחוה וישמרך יאר יחוה פניו לך וחונקה יישא יחוה פניו לך ויעשה לך
bless you and keep you. YaHuWaH make his face shine upon you and be gracious unto you. YaHuWaH lift up his countenance upon you and give you peace. YaHuWaH make his face shine upon you and be gracious unto you. YaHuWaH lift up his countenance upon you and give you peace.
YaHuWaH te bendiga y te guarde. YaHuWaH haga resplandecer su rostro en ti y tenga de ti compasión. YaHuWaH alce su rostro sobre